I have the first points. I don't know if you want to talk about any of the announcements, Kai.
I was just going to mention them real quick. Like the shared drive is worth. I don't know if people know they were all added. It's open to everyone in the code review group, I think, so anyone can put documents there. But it's where I put stuff when I talk to people or partners or whatever. Those docs and recordings all end up there if you're ever curious. And then the other one is I woke up to that issue that says Kenny will be the acting group manager for Create. So I don't know if that'll impact anything for us, but just as an FYI. And yeah, I think David's going to stay as the director. I don't know. So yeah, that is the latest there in case anyone was curious.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. It's going to be an exciting month for dev. Yeah, my first point is, I think, just to like thank everyone for keeping all of the discussions and meetings that happened around code review in the same document. For me, it has been very helpful to go back and forth between the meetings and link some of the topics that sometimes we discuss in the weekly, other times we discuss it in the UX. And yeah, because in the end, everything is related. And yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for bearing with this. I hope it's not too confusing. Yeah, I just wanted also to ask if it's been confusing for someone or if it has been helpful for any of you.
I just want to say that I like it too. Very useful. I can keep track of what's happening on other meetings, and sometimes I jump on videos because of the agendas. So cool stuff.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks. Good. Let's keep it that way then. Kai, you have your second point.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with Review and B, who has a tool for diffing and doing code review of Jupyter notebooks, which are used by like data scientists and like data teams, and sort of in that community, I think is largely where they're used. There's an ask on our side to like provide Jupyter notebook diffs in a like rich format, because they're like they're a format that then generates like graphs and other things like inside of it in the rendered Jupyter notebook. And so people actually want to diff like the render, not the raw code, because that's sort of just like XML or SVG type markup that plots all of that eventually. That'd be complicated, I think, for us to build and like work in. And so I've asked them if they want to do it, because they do it for GitHub. That is GitHub's sort of answer to it as well. But there's some blockers to them doing that right now. And so I thought it'd be worth seeing what those are. At least the first few seem to be in terms of them retrieving the diffs at all. So you might see stuff come down that way that I'm hoping we don't have to spend a ton of time on, but we'll have to see. So mostly Michelle, I think, will probably get pinged, but wanted to put it on everyone's radar.
Appreciate.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that we did some work on the source code side of things, enhancing the way that it renders on the blob view. So that was good. It had support for LaTeX and other fancy rendering of images and stuff. But yeah, the diffing is definitely a far more complex challenge. So if they have a tool that does that, happy to consider it and investigate and I can put one of our ICs to investigate any front-end involvement.
Yeah, from what I know from their tool is, even for the GitHub workflow, they basically just like post a comment in the merge request that says there's a review, and then like you have to go to their tool to like do anything.
Okay, kind of like source graph.
Yeah, it's sort of all external, so it should, hopefully it won't be like anything that'll happen in our MR page. It would just be
Okay.
link.
A plug, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested, as you know, about the intricacies of doing this with the self-hosted, whether they have would have to have a feature toggle to be able to enable or disable this thing. So all of that thing is just the usual thing that you already know. All right, keep us posted. Oh, Pedro has a question.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, if we know how big the market is for the Jupyter notebooks, and separately, what is the demand for reviewing them?
Yeah, I linked you. That's the issue on our side in terms of demand. There's quite a few like customer links in terms of Salesforce and Zendesk links. Maybe not quite a few. There's a few, and then the issue's got a reasonable number of upvotes, more than many issues that we work on. So I think people want it. It looks like we looked into it before, and like the libraries to do this don't align with our tech stack. And so like it's sort of a problem in terms of like how we would be even like you do these things. Like the libraries that exist aren't. I mean, and maybe this has changed in a year or two, but it wasn't even that long ago the last time Phil looked at it. So and I think this gives us a way to not do it, but provide an option. And then if customer demand is like good for it, then we can monitor and measure that, and then we could always go and build it ourselves. But I don't think it's anything we want to spend the time building right now.
Okay, so it's not a priority at the moment.
Yeah, not for us to do it, but we may need to do the work to enable someone else to do it. I guess would be the goal there.
Yeah, I think we consider looking at some of the libraries that do rendering on the front end of this, because the backend tool that exists, like you said, is mostly Python based, not Ruby. So it's kind of like hard to plug it. But the way that I see it is like the customers who use this extensively. The ones who don't even know about it. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, and then it's usually like a small number of people inside of a company, because it's typically only like, especially for the ones where it's like data scientist focused and stuff, that's like at GitLab that would be like 4 people who would be like contributing and doing things with that, not the entire like 1,300 plus organization. And so it's like it's an even smaller subset of like people inside of a company who might even care about this. And so it's just a little bit different in that sense. Cool. The next one is, I don't know, I've been spending some time looking at approval rules and code owners and thinking about reviewers and sort of the future of that. And we've been talking a lot about like reviewer roulette. And if you look at all the data that reviewer roulette gets, you know, it gets this amazing source of data because it pulls from team.yaml and Slack and all these other things that like are obviously not native to the product. And one of the things that is native to the product is code owners. The GitLab project is sort of has a laughable use of code owners at best, in that like anything that's a Ruby file is just like, it's backend, and like it's not segmented down to even like these things, you know, like there's not a section for like every single stage group, even though you would expect sort of like stage groups to be more responsible for things that are in their area. And so I don't know that there's any, like, I just want to gather some ideas of like, how can we get, I think for us to push forward on reviewers, and even I know when we were having trouble with code owners and approval rules last year, you know, a lot of that stems from our lack of usage there. And I think we need to be a lot better about that. And I know that potentially could create some friction in like the development organization, where might need more explicit approval rules and things could get sort of inadvertently blocked. But I'd be curious if there are thoughts around how we can like maybe pilot this with our own group or try and get the dev org on board to like at least build out code owners and maybe build some more approval rules into the GitLab project just to try and be better about how these things work.
So this would be much easier to accomplish with the www project because they already have an issue where they really need this to happen. But if we can get the optional section approvals, then we could probably open an issue to propose it for the actual GitLab project as well. But like you said, we really had a rough year last year, and it's every time something happened, it went back to like, well, we didn't know that the customers were using it that way. That's not how we're using it. And in most cases, we're not using approval rules or code owners the way customers use it anywhere in the GitLab projects. So I think sectional code owners has already been released. I'm not sure what the status is of the optional approvals, but that is the start. I think can contribute to the www issue.
Yeah. Do you think without even like building approval rules, do you think there would be like resistance to having like more specific code owners? Just like if we contributed an MR that was divided up and made a bunch of sections and put them out to groups, do you think there would be resistance to like see that merged in general? Because I don't know that we necessarily need approval rules, right? Like I don't know if we have code owner approval rules turned on. I don't think we do. But what would be nice is to have code owners as a source of data. That's sort of what I want to have. In order to enable reviewers, it doesn't necessarily need to be approval rules, but it needs to be a source of data as well.
For the GitLab project, you might see some resistance there. But for the www project, I wouldn't expect almost any resistance there.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get the feedback we need out of the www GitLab project, though. It's not the right user base.
Michelle, we have the concept of domain experts, and that could be a good place to start on. Now that we have the optional sections, if you could start layering in those sections of domain expertise. I know that the front end use them extensively, and we have a lot of them already identified. So maybe we can start there, pushing that through our teams to start defining that as you're adding domain expertise, to add the code owner optional section that is related to your domain expertise, because each domain expertise has a set of folders. So
yeah, I think that's a great iteration that would probably not get any pushback because we have all already agreed on the domain expert kind of methodology. So that's
right.
a good point.
Okay. Well, I'll bring this up with our call with Christopher today. I guess that's a good place to start. We have a call, I think, today with him, office hours. So we can bring it up there and see if we can get them moving through that.
Yeah, I mean, or in true GitLab spirit, we could just put an MR forward and like actually make the changes in the code owner's file. And I think if it was a non-workflow impacting change, like that's sort of a start, right? Like that helps get us down a path. And then, you know, I think if we want to start building in approval rules, we might have to ask permission, or maybe we ask for, I don't know about any, I mean, that might be a little more challenging, but at least we could, at least if we lay the groundwork and we're more in a spot where like, we want the feedback, I think we should do the non-controversial things and then like wait until we know it's going to be controversial to sort of like, here's what we've been doing and this is why, and like, this is the last step that we need to do to like, be able to really get this in understanding.
Yeah, we can start with the stuff that we know. So for example, it wouldn't be easy for us, for someone who's not aware of the domain expertise realm, to know exactly what folders they're covering. So we can start doing that for the ones that we have on our teams and get that started. I don't know exactly who has the rights to enable code owner approvals enforcement on the project, but we'll take a look at that.
I'm always like Marin. Anytime there's a question like that, Marin's
If it's not
always
him,
gonna be.
he will know.
I think any maintainer can probably set the approval rules.
Probably.
Project.
I think so.
Maybe.
We'll see. Maybe it's set for admins. I don't know. But yeah, we'll get that rolling. Thanks for the call out.
Is the check-in? Are we moving on to the check-in?
Pedro had
Yeah,
a comment
okay.
up above. I don't know if you want to go back to it.
Where? Who? Where?
No, yeah, I think it's just. I
Oh,
think
okay, here.
we already talked about it. It's just saying that I think we're just not using them regardless of the way we're using them. And yeah, I agree that pushing something forward to change that as soon as possible is the best way, because we need to feel the pain in order to improve things and to learn more about them. Yeah, and it feels like we've been avoiding it somehow. Also because we didn't have the optional sections, but to be honest, I think, yeah, we should have started using the required code owners as they were, and we would add the optional later. But yeah.
Totally agree. The mid milestone check-in, my overall progress here is 71%. So I am very pleased. I'm not concerned at all. We are not blocked with anything. We have 7 issues that are closed or under verification. That's more than half of the issues that are already taken care of. And then about even in review and in dev. And so we're working through that. I don't expect anything bad to happen, I hope. Yep. Go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, thanks. That's great. From our side, the elapsed time of the milestone is at 56%. It's something I always check to compare with the progress. We're at 57% of progress, which is an estimated number, but it does feel like we're on track. There's a couple of things that we haven't covered, so Kai, you already know about that unexpected finding on the replacement of variables in the custom commit message when applying suggestions work, where the solution we pursued with doesn't make it easy to make it work on the overview tab. It works on the changes tab. It doesn't work on the overview tab. We'll pursue that on a separate effort. We'll have to find a better solution for that. But yes, we agree that we're not blocking the feature rollout for that. And yeah, so it does feel like we're on track overall. There's no major red flags. There's some investigation issues that we have scheduled this milestone that haven't started. So last I heard, they're going to be started soon over the next couple of days. So we should be getting that rolling as well. So yeah, no major red flags there.
Is so the original issue that Thomas is working on, this milestone, it is labeled as UX debt and also as a S for bug. Is it okay if I also label the subsequent issue with that, since we haven't solved the problem entirely?
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Michelle, one of us, your point?
Yeah, I just wanted, I don't know if this is useful, but maybe this is useful just for my own self. We do have 2 feature flags we're looking to remove or enable this release. So I feel like maybe a call out for those separate is at this point maybe warranted. So merge refs and reviewers. Nothing to do about it. I just think maybe if we don't trust the data that we're getting, Andre, maybe we should verbalize what the status of our feature flags are
Sure.
each release. There it is.
That's a good point. And the custom commit message, the feature flag is also being enabled by default I think it's between today and tomorrow. So that's good. Oh, thank you. I was going to write that.
Do you know if merge rests are on for the rest of .com, Michelle?
I do not. I need to circle back and check today what the
Okay.
status of that is, but I did check on Patrick's piece and that is looking very good. So I'm very excited. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm optimistic that we could get it on. I don't think we should try and default it on and self-managed. I don't think. I don't know.
I think it will be
I'm
fine.
actually sort of like cautious about that one because I feel like that one's going to be tougher to roll back. But I like the sooner we get it on, like the easier that decision becomes over the next like week and a half. So cool. Thanks for all the updates, everyone. It's good to see everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday week. Things look good. They look really good. So we're getting there.
Awesome. Just as a teaser, and tomorrow the front end team is going to be gathering with the Verify team. We're going to have our end of quarter gathering. The topic is going to be about availability, dealing with availability on lovable product categories. So we're going to be sharing tips and tricks and experiences that we've had to deal with on the front end teams, because the Verify is also dealing with that lovable problem. We're dealing with it as well. The pressure, the rolling out, the feature flags, all of that will be a topic of discussion. I'll share the recording and the agenda once the meeting is done. It's going to be very front end focused. So hence being focused on that. So we'll be sharing the recording here next week. Yeah, I'll share it, Michelle. Bye.
I actually have a.
Oh,
Okay.
no,
Michelle already dropped.
We have three. We have. Oh, okay.
That's
Is
okay.
it Can we do it a sync?
No, it's okay. It's just a more FYI, but I just wanted to share. I think like Thomas is already aware and Kai as well, but I don't think you, Andre, and Michelle, you were not aware. So I've been mapping all of the states of the merge widget, and you can find a link to the issue there. And the next steps will be competitive analysis. So basically looking at what our competitors are doing. So how GitHub handles the merge widgets and Garrett and all of them, and then designing a framework or coming up with a design framework that is scalable and that could serve as the foundation to apply the similar patterns to the other widgets. But it will mostly be, so I'm planning to have that wrapped up in this milestone, so that by 13.10 we already have a couple of issues that we can start working on, but they will mostly be, I believe, more surface level changes. It won't be a complete redesign and innovative way of merging because we don't have enough time to look into that yet, and we're still doing other research on the side, which is Catherine is basically gathering all of the existing research that we have on merge request widgets, all of them, so that we can then proceed with more information. But right now I'm focusing on the merge widgets, the merge button, because it's, I was thinking about it the other day, and it's probably on the top 3 most important buttons of the product after register or login, and maybe commit or something like that. After that, the merge button is up there. So we need to make it lovable. So it's more of an FYI, and take a look if you're interested. Are you aware of the Verify effort to refactor mergeability check code? I think, is that the working group thing? Yes. So it's more or less the same thing that I'm doing, but from the UX perspective, I believe. That's how I'm interpreting it. Yeah, thanks for linking to that. Kai, do you want to voice your point?
Yeah, I'll just say, I have also seen the working group issue thing, and I think my perspective is that as the group that is the owners of the merge request, and now that we're over time, we should be sort of defining and owning what if the merge button and mergeability checks and those things were going to be refactored, as the group that will ultimately be responsible for sort of how that ends up needing to be maintained or dealt with. We should be the ones sort of leading that, and certainly supportive, but of other groups wanting to contribute to that. But it should be based in our definition of how we want the button to behave and what we want the states to do and what data we want based on Pedro's findings, and then how that gets architected in the back end and front end should be something that we agree with and are consistent with, and not necessarily what like the other group wants, right? Like this is the experience that we own, and it is okay to sort of dictate backwards that like this is how we want it and like that's what you need to do, sort of thing. You're muted or something.
Yeah, it's really weird. Pedro, I think, can hear Andre, but I couldn't when he was talking earlier or something.
No, I can't hear Andre.
Oh.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Right. I was saying that this is going to be a topic over the next couple of weeks. I've already reached out to Sam Beckham, the front-end manager. I already gave him all the feedback that apart from the mergeability checks, there's also some code review checks that we do, dependencies, unresolved threads. So they're going to have to be very much, they can work on their part of the mergeability checks and have that feedback, but we have to then circle back. So I already put him in a path to unify all these people. Pedro, Vitica, the designer from their side, potentially even the PMs will be reached out. So they're still in the forming stage of this group, whether this will be a working group or not. But I agree with you, Kai. We definitely should take an ownership perspective here.
Yeah, I think that's the piece to be clear on, is that I think there are lots of checks and lots of data that we want displayed. And like Pedro's going to define like what the ultimate like end result looks like, right? Because that is what we want to control. And then how the data gets there, I think we as in code review should also be doing that. And then if Verify has things that they need to do, like, hey, Verify, this is how you do it, versus sort of like a Verify saying this is how we're going to do it, and code review saying this is how we're going to do it, because there's a lot of things that like we're doing in terms of refactoring review or in other things that like might dictate a different direction than what it looks like is maybe the right choice now. And so like just to be more aware of that.
Yep, let's keep discussing it. I have to drop.
Yeah,
Bye.
we're well over. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.